So in this video, I'm going to help you master one of the hardest objections to overcome as an insurance agent, especially if you're selling insurance over the phone. The objection where your client will tell you, hey, can you email it to me? Can you send me a quote via in the mail? Put it in my email so I can get back to you. This right now is, I believe, one of the hardest objections. And in this video, I'm going to teach you the 4-step process that I use to master this objection and to overcome this objection to literally close anyone. Now, before I get started, I'm going to share with you the proof is in the pudding. You're going to watch and listen to a video here in a second where Mr. Troy gave me the objection. He said, hey, Peter, sounds good, but can you email it to me first? And then I'll make a decision. But I'm going to share with you how I was able to overcome it. And ultimately, if you can do this, you'll make more money and become unstoppable as a life insurance agent. So the first thing is, let's listen to the objection live.
Okay. Can you say? I mean, that's possible. I mean, are you going to send the paperwork here to my house?
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is that for me to look at and everything, if I decide to go this way.
Oh, okay. Let me just make sure here. So let me just pull it up here. Let me see if I can do that. So it sounds like you want me to send you the policy information in the mail.
Yes. Or
okay.
just send it.
And just so I can send it to your email. Yeah. What specifically would you want me to send you? Because there's like a lot of pages, a lot of documents, and it can kind of get lost in train. What would you want me to send you? I'm a little confused.
Just anything that I would need to sign. I mean, to do the policy.
Oh, yeah. So for life insurance, when you buy any type of insurance product, it does require that you go through like an agent.
So as you guys have heard, Mr. Troy was like, hey, sounds good. I need help making a decision. Can you go ahead and email it? Well, here's the 4-step process that I use to turn him into I need to think about it, send it to me in an email, to a sale. The first part and the most important part of objection handling, write this one down, is that you need to acknowledge and ultimately agree with every objection, even if the objection doesn't make sense. When someone tells me, hey, can you email me a quote? That doesn't register in my brain as a salesman. When someone tells me, hey, can you mail it to me in the mail? That doesn't make sense to me. We're here to solve problems. Now, here's why it doesn't make sense. Is because prior to getting the objection, you should have done a good job of getting their pain or getting to understand why they're looking for life insurance. And ultimately, what does life look like if they don't move forward with this product? Now, in this case, Mr. Troy told me that if he dies, his loved one is stuck with all this burial, this burden. So I now have ammunition to go ahead and deploy and to diffuse this objection. So you must have ammunition before you go into objection handling. But the first step is to agree. Absolutely, Mr. Troy. I can definitely get this sent over to you in your email for a quote. That's not a problem. And why you always agree when it doesn't make sense, it's because it lowers their guard. It allows their ears to go from closed, where I'm not hearing this guy give objections, to open. I'm willing to listen to this individual because I agreed with them. So we never want to have confrontation. We never want to go head to head. What do you mean you need to think about it? Or what do you mean you need to send it to you in the mail? That creates confrontation, friction, guard goes up. He'll never listen to you. So step number 1, agree and acknowledge. So if they tell you, can you go ahead and mail this to me? Oh yeah, absolutely, Miss Betty. I'd love to be able to mail this to you. What's the best address to mail this to you at, just so I make sure I have the right address here on file? She'll give you the address, and then that gives you evidence to go into point number 2, and that is to isolate the objection. Now, when someone tells you, again, that they want to mail a policy or email the policy to them or send me a quote in the mail, that is basically they're telling you, hey, I have other concerns. I'm still worried about something. So step number 2 is to isolate the objection. And typically how I do that is I ask this question. Absolutely, I'll send it to you in the mail. Just so I can understand before I send it to you in the mail. Is it more of the price that you're worried about, Miss Betty? Or are you just not sure if you need it? So I always end with the question, is it the price that you're unsure of, or are you just not sure if you need it? Now, this is a silly question because most of the time people know that they need it. So it's going to basically get them to narrow down and pick the real reason why they are not moving forward. And in this case, Mr. Troy, he basically sold himself. He's like, oh, I know I need the insurance. I'm just more worried about the price. So he went from I need to mail it or I need to think about it, send it to me via quote, an email, or send it to me in the mail, to now saying, hey, Peter, I want the insurance, but it's more of the price that I'm worried about. So now I have some structure and I know that, hey, the reason he's not moving forward is because of the price. So I've uncovered the real objection by asking him, was it more of the price or are you not sure if you need it? Now that I've isolated the variable, I can now go ahead and understand, hey, how do I maneuver the next part of the conversation? And this is by making a suggestion. Now, before I make the suggestion, I have to do this. Oh, so it sounds like to me that you really value the life insurance. You want the life insurance, Mr. Troy. You're just really most concerned about the price. Is that about right? He is going to then say yes. So in simple words, he's basically saying, I want the insurance, but I just can't buy it because of the price. And that isolation allows him to admit that he's not moving forward, that that he wants this in the mail because he's still unsure about the price. Okay. Now that we have that price highlighted in circle, we're going to make a suggestion. Okay. Now the suggestion, you're going to ask for the suggestion. It goes like this. Now, Mr. Troy, can I make a suggestion to share with you what most of my clients do who are on, label them, we're on fixed incomes, who want life insurance, but just typically need to think about it or send something in the mail. Can I share with you what they typically do? Okay, so we're going to pause here really quick. Step one was to agree with them. Step number two was to isolate the true objection. Step number three was to make that suggestion. And number four is the downsell. Then he's going to say, sure, can you make yeah, sure, that's fine. What do they typically do? What most of my clients do for us here, Mr. Troy, is that we typically are going to start with something small. So I know you need this coverage. Instead of starting with the $20,000, what we can do is we can start with the $15,000 for that $58 a month. This will make sure that you can go to bed at night knowing that no matter what, your daughter is taken care of. You can make sure that, as you told me earlier, bring back the situation. You didn't want your daughter having to knock on doors. You didn't want your daughter to be the one starting the GoFundMe. You didn't want your daughter having to raise money for your burial expenses. This will solve that problem. It will make sure that she's not stuck paying for any of that. And ultimately, you can go to bed at night knowing that, as a father and as a man, that your daughter is taken care of. But most importantly, Mr. Troy, I want you to know I'm going to be your agent for life. We can always start small and then always increase it later down the road. Does that sound fair? We're going to end with, does that sound fair? So let's break down step number 4. The downsell is important. You need to go ahead and once they say yes, they're going to go ahead and basically suggest the lower option. You're then going to explain how it's going to solve their problem, how it's going to solve their concerns, because you got their concerns in the discovery. He told me X, Y, and Z. So you're still explaining how it's going to solve their problem. Then you're going to eventually tell them, hey, we can always increase it. I'm going to be your agent for life. But most importantly, you have to end with, does that sound fair? When you make the suggestion, you say, does that sound fair? And you don't say another word. Then he just thinks. Thinking. That works. And then you can move him forward. Now, if he says, no, I still need to go ahead and email it to me. Absolutely. You go back to step number 1. Which is acknowledge. I totally understand. I actually think you should think about it. What do you need to think about? What should I email you? Well, I want to look at the quotes. Well, absolutely. I'll send you the quotes. And just with the quotes, so I'm prepared for our next time that we speak. Is it more of the price that you still need to go through with the quotes, or are you just not sure if you need it? More of the price. Then I go into making a suggestion. Well, I know the price is still a concern. Can I make a suggestion? He says yes. And then you go ahead and downsell again. So you always continue to downsell until you move forward. So the 4-step process to overcome the hardest life insurance or insurance objection is, number 1, acknowledge the objection. Number 2, isolate the true objection. Number 3, make that suggestion. Is it okay if I make a suggestion? And number 4, prepare the downsell and end with, does that sound fair? And if he does not move forward, you loop him back up. Most people, again, need to think about it or email the quotes because they're scared to make a decision. They don't have information they're looking for. And it's your job as the agent to ask deeper questions, to ask what are their concerns, to peel back the onion, to close the deal, and ultimately help them make that decision. And if you do that, the result is you will help a client who will continue to think about it and shop around for the rest of their life. You will help them make a hard decision. And number 2, you will get some Benjamin Franklin's in your pocket. You will make more money. So hope you guys like this video. If you want more sales training like this, comment below. See you in the next one. Take care.